accept a motion to enter back into regular session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. We're now in open session. I would accept a motion to approve minutes of the closed session on March 10th, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is an ordinance to establish wages for non-bargaining employees of the city of Olney. Mr. Barker.
And this would be based on the action or the discussion we just had, the 3% rate. And Kelsey, did you have a resolution you're just gonna fill in on this, or?
Yeah, we'll fill it in. You wanted to present with options, and then we would just plug it into something.
Yeah, what council satisfied with 3% across the board?
I would accept a motion to accept the 3% and other additional.
Motion to approve 3%.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Discussion of possible action, electric education. Mr. McLaughlin.
So whatever happened, Alan, so the contract didn't get signed, did we not enter into agreement with that?
Harvey Air came here on a Monday, I think it may have been last Monday if I'm not mistaken, and he talked to me and Kelsey, but I told him that we had 4 council members at that time that I'd spoken to that were not in favor of going forward with being a part of the aggregation this year. And our options are not to be a part of it this year, but to be a part of it again next year if we want to. So I left that option open, we did not want to do it this year.
Yeah, and again, I came in here and was, very adamant that I've completely done a 360 on where I was with this originally.
Okay.
Originally, when we did this years and years ago, there was a clause in there that if Good Energy or Constellation or whoever it was at the time, I don't even think it was Good Energy at the time, maybe it was, but
Homefield.
it was Homefield. Yes, it was Homefield. If their rate dropped below Ameren's, or if Ameren's rate dropped below theirs, they would match
You
it.
got the cheaper rate.
So we guaranteed basically all the residents the cheapest rate at all time.
Yeah.
That has since changed, and last summer, our rate was locked in at 11%. Ameren's dropped down to 5 or 6%. I know because I went on the Ameren site and changed mine, and my bill cut from 400 and some back down to 200. Yet there were still a lot of people on Facebook. I got a lot of people that stopped me that were upset about the high electric. Nobody understood it. Nobody understood the whole supplier thing. So
they were unaware that they could option out?
but it's confusing for a lot of people.
Certainly if you're older.
And
would not know.
what I told Alan is, if we can't, in my opinion, if we can't guarantee that we are always getting the best rate, the cheapest rate for the residents, then we shouldn't be in the business of picking a supplier for people. I mean,
Wasn't it just a matter of putting that in verbiage?
They won't do it.
They won't do it.
They won't do it anymore.
They just screwed the pooch then, didn't they?
So if we can't guarantee it for people, then we shouldn't be in the business of picking their supplier. I mean, that's my thoughts,
Yeah.
As a homeowner,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be off the council in a month. Come next year, if Alan, if you can't guarantee that you're signing me into a contract that's gonna be the best deal for the whole time you sign it, well, I don't want you picking my supplier. Keep me on Ameren and I can go on and choose my own supplier if I want to, So,
But in the end, every resident
Any
has the option to choose their own
at
supplier.
any time, you
Any-
can go,
any
you can
time,
go in the
ultimately.
Ameren
But by
dashboard.
default, the city has a
And it's
blanket plan.
and it's an opt out.
Yeah, opt
which,
out.
Which it would be
Initially-
better if it was an opt-in,
Exactly.
because
But-
then people
And
would know
that's
what
the
they're doing.
legislation
I-
puts
No
that
one
in there,
knows how
right?
to opt out of
But see, here's the problem. I
People
talked.
don't really know who they have.
Well, I talked to Brad Beer at Ameren, and he said the thing is with Ameren is because it's an opt out, and everybody can opt. We can sign this, and 100% of the residents can go in a month and opt out.
Yeah.
Ameren has to buy the power. They have to buy and enter into the agreement for the electrical supply anyway, right? So even though Ameren, they might start at 11% or whatever, and then in 3 months they have all this supply that they're buying anyway because they have to, because they're the default
They're the
supplier,
provider,
right?
They're the lines, yeah.
That's why a lot of times their price will then drop afterwards, because they're buying all the supply and they gotta get rid of it. But from my understanding, because they are legally the default supplier, they have to have that supply, because what happens if everybody opts out and goes to them, and they have to have the supply there? You know, so my just thoughts are, if we can't guarantee it's gonna be the best price, we just shouldn't be in the business of picking
And
supply.
that's where we are right now.
I opted
For this
out
year.
to
For
be part
this
of the
year.
bid this year.
For this year.
Until the council got settled what you wanna do. And I think Bart's done some research on that.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know a heck of a lot more about it than I did 3 weeks ago. Yeah, the opt-out can only be initiated by a referendum, which we did in 2012, I believe. And the voters, I mean, it's a referendum. They voted, we
voted.
want an opt-out.
Yeah.
The opt-in can be initiated by simple ordinance. So you know, in other words, the opt-out is a lot more difficult than the opt-in. So yeah, I mean, the guys, you know, I looked around, did some research, talked to a city attorney in Champaign, and he had you know, what I thought was a pretty fair assessment of it. This was a much better, this was a great idea 10 or 15 years ago, because Ameren had very little competition, they had no incentive to bring prices down. So this legislation came into existence so that, you know, in municipalities that wanted this by referendum could make it an opt-out, so that would put some pressure on Ameren to lower their rates. And he said, you know, it's basically served its purpose, it's done that. Ameren is much more competitive than they were 15 years ago, and he said, you know, we don't have a contract. We've kept our program to where if we signed a contract, it would still be opt-out, because that's what the voters wanted. They voted in a referendum. I mean, it doesn't get more classic democracy than that. But unless a contract comes along that we believe will be a good deal, you know, in other words, is lower than Ameren's current rates, or is competitive with Ameren's current rate, or whatever, and, you know, we still have a duty to our citizens to not enter into contracts that we think are bad deals.
Correct.
You know, so that's what they did. That's what they did.
So by doing what we did, we left our options open.
Yeah.
But
Basically, what we did is exactly what Champaign did, I think, 2 years ago.
Okay, good lead.
So we can, 2 years from now, if something comes in that's a
Yeah.
good deal, then you can
Well,
enter
if
back
they
into
offer
it.
one where you can get that deal where they'll give you the lower
The
rate.
lowest, match the lowest rate.
Well, if we can get them to sign a contract, but when we talked to Javier, he acted like that's a thing of the past.
that was to get them started, I
And
think.
basically, I think,
Get
just to
started.
Yeah,
kind of get
entice.
these people's feet under them, you know, okay, we'll guarantee you the best rate. Because clearly, it's not the end of the world to guarantee you the best rate. I mean, if Ameren can sell power at 6,
It's being
you can
produced for
probably
free.
sell power at 5.95 and still make a fair amount of money.
Yeah, still
So,
in the black.
yeah,
That's right.
you know, these companies just help them get established by, just like anything. I mean, if you're opening a shoe store next door to the established shoe store,
Yeah.
you're always gonna sell shoes cheaper than that guy.
Oh, yeah.
But then once you get on your feet,
Yeah.
maybe you don't anymore.
Pun
You know?
intended.
And then at the
Enough
time, I
enough
mean, it
people
was,
start dropping it, they'll bring
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah,
I mean, at the time, it was a great deal. You could guarantee your residents would get the best deal,
Right.
you know?
Okay, well, we've got that settled. Any
Um,
further?
yeah, I got one more thing, sorry. Can we go back to the budget? I didn't wanna do this while everybody was here. I'm hungry. So let's go back to this $500,000 thing again, right? So we already settled the $500,000 out of the business district, right? But the other $500,000 that we had in our 401 project, you're still gonna remove that.
Yeah,
Right.
because that was really, that would have to come out of just general reserves, so yes.
Which-
But I haven't looked yet, but if there's money left over at the end of April, then I'll bring in some money that we will set aside and add to that road project.
That road
account.
project account that we started? Okay.
Okay.
Because we opened that road project account, and I think we should be at least putting money in there.
And I probably will also bring to the next meeting to reallocate that $1 million for Main Street surfacing to that road project account too, and get rid of, I won't need two accounts.
And we can sit it in there, we don't have to spend it this year, next year, but at least we have money in there for road projects if they come up,
When they come up.
or when they come up, they'll come up, but when they come up. Okay, that's, I just wanted to clarify.
Any further business to be had?
It would behoove us maybe to look over the boat dock ordinances and come with suggested tweaks to that plan, 'cause I think we should move on that quickly.
I think Dallas needs to be in on that
He
too.
does?
I mean,
Since he's
I
the
don't,
enforcer.
I don't know of any, I guess, I don't know of a lot of boat lifts that aren't inside a dock area, that are just sitting out there. I mean,
But
Yeah.
theirs was gonna be on their dock, it was just gonna be on the outside of their dock. Which, they park their boats on the outside of their dock. So
because
it-
there's four boats.
Because there's
Yeah,
four
they have
boats,
4
yes,
families
but,
on one property.
I'm just saying, their
takes
lift
up
was
no
going
more
to be right
space.
where their
It
boat
doesn't,
is.
then about- But it could present, if we don't put some verbiage
Yeah,
in
I
there,
understand what
I
you're
don't want it to be a hazard. I just don't want it to be a hazard. I mean, to me, if you're paying taxes on the property, you should have to use the property as long as it's not a safety hazard.
But
And
their
there-
boats, the
but
boats
on
are
the other
parked there
end,
now.
you have to be able, we can't say you can go from border to property pin to property pin, and you can't have,
Well, you're gonna have to be careful,
Shoreline to shore-
otherwise, by just adding 2 boat lifts, are you going to now change the size of the boat
well, that's it, we have to establish, is
dock?
a boat lift part
Part
of
of
the
the
dock
dock
structure?
structure,
which-
or are we?
Even though it's not attached, it still
Because-
is adjacent, it becomes really that you're
really
using it
part
off
of
the
it.
dock.
Yeah.
I would,
The lift,
Because
you get in the
Here's
boat
what's gonna
off the
happen.
dock.
Here's what's gonna happen is if you increase the size of the boat dock to do 2 on the outside, then in 2 years, you're gonna have someone else show
Yes.
up and they wanna put 2 more boat lifts on the outside of that size, and pretty soon,
which
then
is
you have.
why I would have rather just passed it as a variance and not mess with changing the ordinance, because then if someone else wanted to do it in the future, they'd have to get the board at the time to approve it.
But then we'll just be getting,
Every day.
How many,
Oh, yeah,
though,
there
from-
for a while, John,
Yeah,
every
it was.
meeting was all about boat docks.
It was all
was-
the same.
we spent 9 months on it.
I mean, we had two
Well,
groups.
I mean, just throwing this out as,
Yeah.
cause I don't know who's gonna be, promulgating ideas, and I don't know anything about boat docks or boat lifts or boats or anything, but if you wanna keep it, if you wanna keep it 36 feet, then you could literally just say exactly what you mean. The boat dock cannot be more than 36 feet wide. The boat dock and an additional boat lift cannot be more than 20. I mean, that's what you
Yeah, that's
mean.
what I think,
You
too.
know what I mean? Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
you
but
can
if you
have
have
as much as you want, as long as it doesn't come within 24 feet of your property, or
Or
something
that,
like that.
you know,
It's like,
but I
you
agree
can
with
have a-
Morgan 100%.
No, because
If-
then you're gonna have just continuous boats that could be all the way around the lake.
And why is that?
Because I don't
I'm the
really
devil's
wanna
advocate.
look-
Why is that bad?
Because
I don't
I
like
don't
it, but-
wanna look out, I guess I don't wanna look out, and I think a lot of other people don't wanna look out at a marina across their waterway.
Well,
But yeah,
that's
I-
why we
I-
have an ordinance, and if we keep saying the variances, then what's the use of having that?
I agree
ordinance?
with Morgan, if you allow 56-foot wide docks, that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah,
So
It
a
just is.
36-foot wide dock is fine, just add language that says,
With the addition of no more than
with
2
the
boat lifts.
addition of no more than 20 feet of boat lifts.
Yeah. A maximum of 56 feet, including boat lifts and
Yeah,
dock.
yeah.
Something like that.
Well, no, because then you still have a 56-foot dock.
you have to keep
And
the dock
and
size
with-
the same.
Including dock.
But you have to keep the dock size the
Keep
same.
the dock the same
Because
size.
just to exaggerate, you could have a 55-foot dock and a 1-foot boat lift. Yeah.
As long as the verbiage, we don't want anything overextending more than 56 feet. Everything included,
So what size is their dock now?
I assume
36 feet.
36 feet, I have no idea.
36.
looking at,
And how
Scale.
big is the
10 feet.
The 10 feet.
Yeah. So it's, with the boat lifts, it's 56
It's
feet of
56.
structure. Something that somebody could run into.
I was wondering how.
But again,
in my
if
head,
they're-
it was one boat. I'm like, how do they have a 20-foot wide boat?
But,
Yeah.
but again, if
They
they
want on
don't
each
have the
side.
boat lift there, they're
It's still-
parking their
they're
boats,
That's
keeping the
Mark's
same
but their
point,
boat,
too.
they're keeping and parking their boats on both sides, so you have that,
Right.
Yeah, from
Anyway.
from April
Structural
to
labor.
October, it's
It's
still
still
there.
It's
or
still
whatever.
there.
But
Yeah.
being a boater, and Morgan would attest this, if there's a boat there and you're boating, you see a boat, you miss it. But if there's a boat lift that's submerged, people,
don't know.
fishermen go around, people
Yeah,
say, you
it's-
can, kayakers, you can hit things in the water.
Yeah, that's
So
why,
we have to have something
that's
about,
why I
it has
asked
to
that
be marked,
question
and
on,
we put in
cause,
there, anything had to have a light on it, or something, the dock had to have a light. So I would say any boat lift has to, any part of the boat lift, even if it's, it has to be marked in some way, cause even though it might only be 6 inches under the water, so you can't put a reflector on the water, but it has to have something to designate, there's something
That it's
here in
there.
the water. So avoid it, don't hit it with your boat.
yeah, well, like they
Skiers
said,
can, now,
I
I
think
say
they
they
have
want skiers, but if
poles.
it's out in the Wrist Lake, when you're skiing, you swing wide, man, I mean, you can swing out 50 feet. You know, you need to know what's in the water. That's
yeah.
something that has to be addressed too, even though it's taking up the same space, it could still be a hazard to someone who doesn't know it's there. A boat you can see, but if there's something under the water, you don't know it's there.
But
They
there's
can
always
still
some
harm you.
structure above, isn't there?
no,
said there
Not-
Well,
not-
she
No,
said there was
there-
poles
there's
with
There
poles.
used to
poles
be,
with
they used to have
reflectors.
cables and all, but now they're pneumatic, so they can be
Yeah.
completely submerged, and they pump air into it, and it just.
they said
pushes
there was
water out and
poles,
up it
but
comes,
I,
'cause it's buoyant.
I feel like last year I went by there and it was, because they were in, I mean,
Yeah, they were.
those have already been in the water,
They said they had been.
yeah, so.
Well, they said they had been until Dallas said, hey, wait a minute.
You need to take
Yeah.
it.
And
They
then
were
they
there
took
for
'em
6
out.
months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they took them out or not.
At least,
But-
I don't know, they said they did, but I don't know. Well, you could say, again, just brainstorming, 36-foot dock and up to, an additional 20 feet of boat lifts. Boat lifts must be marked and clearly visible and approved by the code enforcement officer.
Well, can we, okay,
I like it.
so,
Sounds good.
at least two of us only have two more meetings on this agenda, and can we put this on the agenda and talk about this, because
Yeah, I
if
think we
not,
should put it
if
on the
not,
agenda
and I'm
next
gonna be
week.
off, but you might have to then start from scratch with all
No,
new
let's
people
move it
on
next
here
meeting.
getting them, and
Yeah.
it could
Let's
drag
do
on
something.
forever.
Well, and do you wanna do additional 20 feet, or just say 10 feet on each side of the boat, of the dock,
Of the dock.
of
Well, I
the
don't think
dock?
that, I mean, I don't care, but I don't think that accomplishes what they're wanting to do, does it?
Yeah, 10 feet on
feet.
each side of the boat dock, right?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
now, see, like I said, I can't even
Yeah.
envision.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
got a dock and they wanna put a boat.
Okay.
Boats,
On each
uh,
side.
the boats on both sides of it, so instead of additional
So
20
you-
feet,
So you can't have, well, you could still say that. I mean, you couldn't have two boat lifts
They could.
together, could you? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
you
the
could.
answer.
Well, not if you say 10 feet
Well, I
on
don't-
both sides.
probably
It's just a
not
structure.
though, but
If a
how are
boat
they
goes over, it
getting,
gets lifted up
how
out
would
of the
they
water.
get, how are they getting out of that boat lift onto
It would
there?
be entirely impractical, but you could. But it
Then
would be
I would
impractical.
just say no.
Well, okay, but if it's worded, you can have a 36-foot dock and up to 20 additional feet in width
For boat.
for boat lifts.
Or
That's what
say-
I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's
But can you say
10,
additional?
if you add 10 to one side, now you've got a 46-foot thing in the lake.
Yeah.
You add 10 on the other, now you've got a 56-foot thing in the lake.
And the other thing we might want to look at, and I don't know this answer because I don't have a boat, but is 10 feet the standard for a boat lift? Because
Yeah.
what you hate to do is say 10 feet and then
Well, this is
you
the
find out the
issue.
standard's
It's
really
12.
12 feet or something, and
Right.
then we.
Well, yeah, whatever, this is something you guys
It
have
is.
to work,
Most
because,
boats are-
I mean, the
are
reason
10
that we
feet.
had whatever it was, 25 foot, was because in 1971,
Right.
the biggest boats were 21 feet, and now we had to
19.
expand it to whatever we expanded it to, 25 or 30 or whatever, and then, you know, when the lake was built, we didn't have whatever this thing's called, wake boats, so then we had, you know,
Do
that's.
not get that stuff
I
going
thought you would
again.
like that.
But you're right. If you say 10 feet on each side of the dock or something, you know, even if someone
That's
has
what
one dock,
I still think
could
it
still
should be
put two
just
boat
on
lifts
both
in.
sides, right? Am I not
If you got a
picturing this
36
right?
dock and
Yes.
foot dock and up to 20 additional feet for boat lifts,
but can you, instead of that, can you just say 10 additional feet
on each side?
on each
side.
side.
You could.
I mean,
Because I guess what you're saying is this
'Cause-
is the dock, you couldn't put a boat lift here and a boat lift
Well, you
here.
could, but
could,
what
but it
if
wouldn't
there's
be
not a
practical.
boat, what if there is not a boat on this outside one? I would think when you're driving up, it would be really hard to see that one.
Yeah,
You'd
yeah.
probably run right over, 'cause you see the boat, but you don't see
Uh-huh.
the lift, and you
Uh-huh.
approach the boat
But,
and not know
but
the lift is there.
can they do what they're wanting to do with a dock and a lift and a lift?
That's
Yeah,
what they're
that's what they're
wanting
doing.
to
That's what
do.
they want.
so they got their dock, they were keeping a boat
So
on
in
this
other
side,
words,
boat on
so
this
there's
side.
let's just say Gayer and O'Brien are already inside.
They're in the
Yes.
middle,
And
they're on the
Paddock
outside.
and Brinkley wanna be on the outside.
Yes.
So, yeah,
and like I said, they're in the out, you can park their boat on the outside anyway.
right, and
I
so
mean,
we're,
they just
okay,
want
so
the
now,
lift.
now I understand a little better. We're not regulating the lift inside
No.
anyway.
On the outside.
Is
No,
incorporated in
we-
the docks.
And that's,
width.
I think that is probably why
So that's why you
Dallas
say
gave.
10 feet on either side.
Yes. 'Cause
And I
they
think
don't-
that's why Dallas said nothing about the boat lifts, because normally
He
They're
would-
a
in
boat
the
lift
dock.
is
Never-
in the dock
Right,
area.
and he would never have any concern about it. Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. So they have 2 boats on the inside and then 2 boats on the outside.
It's for families that bought a single
Right,
family residence
Right.
is the problem, but
well,
is what it is.
yeah,
But they're not the only ones out there like that.
yeah, there's a lot.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
well,
other,
maybe not very many that have 4, but there's several that have at least 2. Yeah,
So you're going to say 36-foot dock remains maximum width.
and up to
With the-
10
up
feet
to
additional
10 feet
for boat lifts
either
on each side.
Either or both sides of the dock.
On, yeah, that's even better,
Complete
either
or both
or
sides,
both sides
complete
of the dock.
with not to exceed 56 feet, including any combination thereof of dock and boat lifts. Or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's not gonna hurt anything, I'll
And-
see what I come up with.
Then something to identify the boat lift.
Yeah, it
a
must be
flag or
marked and clearly
something.
visible and approved by the code enforcement officer. I mean, that
I
would
think
be-
that'll
so
do it,
can
and
you,
then we
can
can
you
just,
do that up and for the next council
and we
meeting?
just say,
Yeah.
done.
It's got it done
Put
already.
that on
Yeah,
the next
I mean, I think
Yeah,
we
we
should
got 3
avoid
weeks this time,
any
so
kind of language that
even
says
more.
not to exceed 56 feet.
Okay.
Because it doesn't add anything except possible wiggle.
Confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 36-foot dock, 10 foot of additional usage, so I'll figure out something, for boat lifts on either or both
Or
sides of
both
the dock.
sides of the dock.
Yeah.
There we go.
And it'll say boat, so you can't
Yeah.
put something else out.
You can't add another dock on
Yeah.
there, or something
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
or
Yeah.
boat lift,
Yeah.
just so
Well-
people get their boat, yeah. Cause yeah, people are gonna
Do,
park their boat
with,
there
with
anyway.
that point,
you
we
know.
have, they put in, they got their second dock, they have a second little swimming dock that was pre-adjusted.
That was
the
there
ordinance.
to
Do
begin
we
with.
wanna, cause now we're saying one structure.
Yeah,
and then
but
we're
they,
gonna include the boat lifts as part of the structure, then even though it's not attached, but you already said you don't like that argument, that's 2 boat lifts and a dock is not 3 structures.
No, I mean,
agree.
that's, to me, it's
Okay.
one structure.
But another dock that you jump off of and swim on, stand on, that is another structure.
that's already in the ordinance, that you're limited to,
Alright.
to 1 now. I think that's what that
So-
is
But that's
in
probably
the ordinance.
grandfathered in, I mean,
They
Yeah,
that was there.
they are
One in.
grandfathered in. You can't make them take it out, but you
I
can
think
just
last time
keep
we
it
changed it, we changed it
to
to one.
Is being a boater and a swimmer, I do like having a separate.
Or didn't we do one
Dock
per so
to
many
swim off of.
feet of
I
shoreline?
don't remember.
I think if you go back and look,
I don't remember.
because there are
either.
some of those shorelines that go, the properties go like all the way around.
Yeah,
And we.
distance of shoreline was
I
involved with it?
think we did, I think we did distance of shoreline.
Just-
if I re- if
we
I
just
recall- I
wanna
could
let
be
that-
wrong.
Let's just let that lie then.
Yeah.
We're only looking.
I don't
docks and
remember
lifts.
what we ended up with.
Okay.
Because there,
On
we
that
did talk about,
subject.
there were
Well,
some,
I mean, the copy that Kelsey put in everybody's box says, only one lake structure shall be allowed per platted lot or parcel of land. Each structure must have a setback of 12 feet on either side of the property lines. But here's maybe what you're thinking, each lake structure placed on or after April 14, 2022 is also required to display a reflector or light at each corner. So it looks to me like it's one
Okay, maybe it is
structure
one.
per lot, so they must have already,
They said they were grandfathered in.
Yeah, they were
and I think they
grandfathered
were,
in for
because
that.
they did have it, it was already in place before we discussed it. Okay.
Anything further on that? Any further business to be had? I would accept a motion to enter into, or to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn, indeed.
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.